Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick video this morning here on carbohydrates. I had one of my clients this week. They were looking over their nutritional guidelines that I set up, with their breakdown of calories, fat, carbs, and protein. Made 100% from scratch for him, and he's looking at the carbohydrates and had a question. He said, "Hey, Fran, I hear this talk that there's good carbohydrates, there's bad carbohydrates, and I don't really know the difference. What should I be looking for? What should I be eating? Essentially, is there such a thing as good and bad carbs?" And I'm gonna do a quick video today on that. And I told him, yeah, I'll make a quick video for you, help you out, and then at the same time I can post it and help out a bunch of people online that are sitting at home wondering the same thing, because it's a very, very common question, and there's actually a pretty decent amount of disagreeing opinions upon it. But right here at Ramsey Fitness, we're going to stick where the research leads, and I'm not going to go off and make wild theories out of pretty much nothing like a bunch of people in the fitness industry do. So your carbohydrate is one of your 3 macronutrients. You look at the label, it'll label fat at the top, then carbohydrate, and then your protein. And carbohydrates are the only one of the 3 that do not have essential carbohydrates. So for your fats, there are essential fatty acids, and then for proteins, essential amino acids. And what that means, essential, is that you need to consume those on a daily basis through food or supplementation of some sort. Your body cannot produce those levels on its own. Whereas for carbohydrate, there is no essential carbohydrate. And we're not going to get too big into science today in this video, but just know that your body has a couple mechanisms that it uses to turn things into glucose so that it can use that as energy. So really, the thing about carbohydrates, that's the macronutrient that you want to kind of manipulate, because it does depend on a bunch of different things. Genetics for one, intolerances or allergies are another thing, but mainly your carbohydrate intake can range depending on what your goals are. So if you're looking for muscle building, you're gonna have a little more carbs. If you're looking for fat loss, a little less carbs. But they're not evil, and I want to get that through to everybody, that carbohydrates are not evil. And this movement right now we have going on with the gluten-free, low carb, it's the same thing as it was with the low-fat diets, the low-carb diets, even like the Atkins diet. And what these guys are trying to do is pretty much ignore research for the most part. There are some basis for low-carb diets, and I do advocate for one, but it's about mindset above everything. And I teach that here a lot, is about your mindset towards something. And too many people have it in their head that carbohydrates are evil. I can't have carbs. I've had clients all throughout my training that are literally can't even look at a piece of bread because they think it's a carb, it's gonna make me fat. And that just comes from the misunderstanding and the the mischaracterization of carbohydrates by fitness professionals. And the whole concept of something being bad for you or good for you or evil for you, or it's people will bring morality into the issue when morality really doesn't have a place to be in here. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is, and I want you guys to understand that it does its thing in the body. It does this, and that's it. And some things that it does are good, some things that it does are bad, and you want to avoid the bad things and encourage the good things. So as a quick example, carbohydrates post-workout. They do spike your insulin, which is normally a bad thing, but right after a workout it's good because it allows all the ingredients and nutrients to flood into your muscles and essentially saturate those right after your workout in that window, preferably an hour after your workout. So you take something like that, spiking insulin, where everybody says that that's an evil thing and a bad thing to have in the body, and we take it, especially here at Ramsey Fitness, we encourage post-carbs after a workout, and we take a bad thing and make it essentially a good thing. And that's something that people can't get behind. I've worked for people, and I have, like I said, mentored under people and even trained with as coworkers who will take someone's diet and just circle pretty much every single carbohydrate, just go through and circle, just because it's a carb, and they advocate low carb diet, so that automatically means any carb, anytime, anywhere, it needs to come out. And that's not how you want to approach nutrition, to have that mindset that this is evil, that's bad. So that's first and foremost. Now let's get to the good stuff here about what separates a good carb from a bad carb. Well, even that I don't really like to label good or bad, as if you just heard what I was saying there. There are low glycemic carbohydrates and high glycemic carbohydrates. And essentially the difference between the two is one's going to keep your insulin levels steady and release sugar slowly into the bloodstream, and one's going to really spike it and overload your bloodstream, and pretty much it can turn off fat burning when your insulin spikes really high. So what you're looking for in a label is, under the carbohydrate section, is looking at fiber versus sugar, number one. If something's got high sugar amounts versus the fiber amount, it's probably not a good choice for you, unless you're going to have it post-workout. And even, there are certain things that I like better than others for post-workout. But don't be surprised either. There's time you can look at best thing to look at is like bagels and bread, and you can go to the aisle and pick up a loaf, and it could have in the front whole grain, whole wheat, this, and it's healthy, 100% heart healthy, and all that. If you look at the label, look at the ratio between fiber and sugar. Oftentimes, things that might promote healthiness actually have very low fiber content and higher sugar content, and that is not something that's going to spike your insulin you don't want throughout your day. So that's the number one thing you want to look at. And then number two, again, looking at the ingredient list, and it's a little tougher to do for someone who's not fitness educated or has a degree or a good certification or a good nutrition background, is being able to identify certain ingredients that are going to spike your insulin. Essentially, it's going to be code words for sugar, and just a variety of ingredients to determine whether it's going to, again, like I said, spike your insulin or not. So I'll give you guys a quick food list here of some foods that are not going to spike your insulin and some that will. Some things that will are going to be most cereals, any sugar cereal, even Cheerios for the most part isn't really a great option because the carbohydrates it's a low fiber cereal. If you look at the ingredients, it's low fiber. A good cereal that I do happen to like to eat, and I don't buy it, and every so often, if you're a big cereal person, Cashew Go Lean, it's got good fiber content in it versus a lower sugar content, and so it's a little less sweet. Put on some stevia or natural sweetener, some 0-calorie sweetener on there, and then you'll be good to go. I like that as a switch up between that and like a steel cut oats or an oatmeal without sugar added. So some other bad ones, again, most cereal bars, all it is fruit and sugary grains. Most bread, again, unless you look at the label and it's got high fiber content versus the sugar content. Any sort of white bread, white bagel, white tortilla wraps, white pasta, none of those have fiber. And the key thing, if you keep hearing the word fiber over and over, is that it's got this, it makes you feel full. So again, when you're on a diet too, being able to eat every 3 hours is number one step to battling those hunger craves. Then number two is actually eating something that's going to keep you full until that next 3 hours comes up. So again, making sure you get fiber. Fruits are actually medium. It's fructose, and that's got to go to the liver first and then go to the bloodstream. So it's a little different than a straight white bread or white pasta, essentially, or even like candy. So most candy is just all sugar, no good. Even chocolate milk's got sugar in it, but it's good after a workout. So again, just looking at that label and just determining the fiber versus the sugar. Now here's some good things you can have. Again, I mentioned Cashew Go Lean, oatmeal without added sugar, pretty much just getting plain oatmeal and then making your own flavors, whether you add fresh fruit to it, a little bit of cinnamon and stevia is what I like to go with. Sweet potatoes are good versus white potatoes, which are going to spike your insulin. Sweet potatoes, a little slower digesting, more of a steady insulin release. So that's a great option for you too, to pair with like a chicken breast with some vegetables. It's a great meal right there. Whole wheat pastas, whole wheat breads, again, depending on what the label looks like. Some can be a little misleading. But again, that's what it really boils down to for the carbohydrates. And again, just make sure to read labels and become educated about labels and ingredients and different macronutrients. So hopefully that answers your question out there. And like I said, any more questions, keep them rolling. I love doing these videos and love getting some free information out there for you guys. Thanks.